All right, thank you for joining us today. This presentation is one of several presentations that are being offered as part of Open Education Week. We invite you to attend the other presentations this week. You can see the link to our library news blog with links to the other presentations in the chat, and I'll put that in the chat in a minute. This presentation is being recorded, and it will be posted in the ISU Library's YouTube channel for future viewing. Following the presentation, we will have a question and answer period where you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Or if you'd like to post a question in the chat, I can read your questions during the question and answer portion of the presentation. Our presenter can respond to those questions at that time. All right, and it's my pleasure to introduce Elaine Foster. Elaine Foster is an assistant professor in the Human Performance and Sport Studies Department. She earned a bachelor's in physical education with an emphasis in exercise science and a minor in coaching, and a master's in physical education with an athletic administration emphasis, both from ISU. She completed her PhD in education from the University of Idaho with an emphasis of sport pedagogy and character development. Dr. Foster is committed to promoting physical activity, especially among girls and women, and this passion led to her scholarly studies focusing on sport philosophy and the subjective value of physical activity. She is actively involved in presenting at conferences and publishing on these topics. Dr. Foster teaches a variety of courses within HPSS, including History and Philosophy of Sport and Physical Education, Issues in Sport, and Methods of Teaching Physical Education. Her educational philosophy is to support students as they learn how to learn. Dr. Foster's service contributions include representing the College of Education on Faculty Senate, serving on the College of Education Faculty Review Committee, and coordinating the annual celebration of National Girls and Women's Day in Sports Day at ISU. So with that introduction, I'd like to turn the time over to Elaine, and thank you for presenting today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Spencer, and thanks for inviting me to do this and providing this week and these resources. I'm going to give a big plug to you all for the resources that you provided to make this possible. I think so actually what I have today, I just have a couple of documents, Google documents, and some links to some websites that I want to share with you and kind of just go through the process that I took to create and get into this whole OER thing. I think what it started with, and Wendy mentioned this yesterday in her presentation, but it was it was really all about textbooks are expensive. How can we make them less expensive, right? Or this textbook kind of fills my needs, but not really, and I'm only picking and choosing, and I just can't justify my students buying this really expensive book when I'm only using part of it. And that's obviously been a gripe of mine since I was a student too, and having to buy a lot of textbooks and things like that too. So when I first heard about OER, and this is my introduction to OER, really was through the university a couple of years ago when there was kind of a push through, I think it was in conjunction with ITRC, the library, academic affairs, kind of a whole conglomeration of people. And I don't think this is the exact website that I remember going to, but I plugged this one in here. Because once I heard of it, I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I should look into that and see what it's all about. So there is a website currently on ISU's webpage under Instructional Technology Resource Center. And Spencer and Laura, you can tell me if there's more on the library website, because I remember seeing a lot on the library website as well for some of these. So the link that I'm sharing with you right now is, I just stuck it in the chat. But essentially, I just kind of went to this and just started reading through everything. And especially the getting started, just kind of understanding what this is all about, where I could find these OERs, who are creating these OERs, because it was a little bit just foreign to me. So just spending time on this was really, really helpful for me to understand what it all is and what potentially I could do or how I could adopt some things in my own classes. So that was kind of my first ideas or introduction to OER. I didn't dive really deep at that point because I was mostly finding a lot of things for like general education courses, biology type courses, you know, a lot of things like that. And I was like, oh, there's not a whole lot for me in here anyway. So I kind of put it on the back burner. And then I heard about the grant that was available. And one of my classes in particular was really in my head of like, I've got to be able to make a better text for this. And the text that I was using, it's actually a really good one. I really appreciate the approach that these authors take, and it's this one here. But again, that price tag on it was just kind of killing me. And especially so many of our students don't tend to keep this book. So they're spending a lot of money than just returning it. And so my idea was like, is there some way I could create an OER or find an OER for this class in particular? So just an intro to the class, it's Foundations of Kinesiology. It's a 200 level class that all of our majors take kind of right off the bat. And it goes through philosophy, history of kinesiology, and then career exploration, a typical foundations class for many majors. Now, I did start to feel okay because they could get a Kindle version for a little bit cheaper. And actually the thing that pushed me over, this is the second edition that I'm showing you here. The first edition came out in 2017, and then they released the second edition in 2023. And in my mind, there was no need for a second edition. And so again, it was just like, now there's a new edition and there's not much change in it. And, you know, I understand the world of textbooks, but it wasn't the best for what I'm doing. So the first steps I took is, again, I heard about the grant. So I was like, all right, I'll apply for this. And as Wendy said, it kind of just gave me the push to actually take the steps to make this happen in one way, shape, or form. So I reviewed all the materials on the website and the library and ITRC, like I said, which was super helpful. So I'd highly recommend you go there. And it looks like Spencer, you provided the one from the library. And I'm pretty sure it's that one that I spent the most time on. I was just quickly this morning trying to find that link, and the ITRC one is the one that came up. And then I scheduled an appointment with Ariel and Laura, and we met this summer, and that was actually super, super helpful and insightful. My notes from that day are just kind of this here. And more than anything, they just gave me some really good feedback and ideas on what I can do and what I can't or shouldn't be doing. And I learned of some things I was doing that I shouldn't be doing due to copyright sort of things. And I've actually informed many of my colleagues about this because it's just a practice, you know, and that is downloading your articles and plugging them into Moodle or whatnot versus giving that permalink to the library website. So I was able to clean that up for sure. But they just helped me in a lot of ways, just kind of understand this a little bit more, consider how I would want to distribute my textbook, all of those sorts of things. So the other things is they gave me some other ideas of places to look, and even offered to help look into this. Maybe there was an ebook available that had unlimited access. I don't think that actually exists, but I mean, these are just great ideas to think about for any of us, depending on our disciplines, is going to be whether those are available. Also just helping look for other OERs. I mean, they are like the masters of finding things. So if I wasn't finding it, then somebody else might be able to. Yeah, and then other articles, if there were the articles that I found that maybe had a license, they might still be able to get that. We talked about the permalink. So if you're unaware, you can click on this permalink if you find an article on the library website, there'll be a link button and you can insert that into your class or into whatever, give that link. And then everybody who accesses it has to be logged into the library before they can access that. So a quick example of that would be, let's see, I think like this article here. Well, actually, as you can see, I listed here the article, a link, and then I said, must be logged into the ISU library to access. So if I were to click on this, it'll take me to the library website, connect me there, that sort of thing. So that made me feel a lot better that I was doing that correctly. At least I think I am. Laura can correct me. Okay, get back here. And then I also met with, I can't remember if I think he was in the same meeting with us potentially. I can't remember, but I met with Brian Randall and he was mentioned yesterday, works with ITRC and very, very helpful and knowledgeable as well. So he gave me a whole list of these places to look for OERs, some other ones, and also to get an idea of what my own OER could look like. Also just little tips like the URL cannot change. So you may want to create a draft first, then move it over to the real website, like little things like that. He gave me some really good tips on that. So, and I have not yet, my goal is to put my work into a press book. I haven't done that quite yet. Just because I know there's some more edits and things like that that I want to do to it first. And I'll show you my example there here in a minute. So that was kind of my first step. And so that got me going down the route of searching in a couple of other places and just really being meticulous about what I was looking for. Well, I didn't find what I was looking for, which is okay. It wasn't there. And I kind of guessed that it wasn't going to be there because this is kind of a niche area. But what was exciting is in the process, I did find an OER for one of my other courses, which was really cool. So I wanted to show you what that one looks like. This is for my class called Issues in Sport.
Elaine,
And basically we're talking about sociology of sport in there. So this was, I found this Georgia Highlands College. You'll notice down here, it has the Creative Commons license.
Elaine, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you sharing your screen? We're not seeing anything.
Oh,
Oh,
I
I
can
see it.
I see the screen.
So maybe it's hidden behind a tab.
sometimes my Zoom pops up two screens too, and one of them's the share.
Yeah.
It might be hidden in there.
Yeah, I don't see it. Sure, I'll figure it out. Sorry.
No, no problem. And I can share this with you later if you
Sure.
would like to.
That'll be great. Thank you.
Yeah, so I was really excited about this and also the source that it came from. This is like the book that is used in sports sociology from Jay Coakley. So I was excited knowing the topics in here would be exactly what I was looking for. So I think it's kind of interesting how they laid this out, but it did give me kind of an idea of what to do also. I'm pretty sure this was probably a project that they did with some students, these faculty members or something like that, which is also something I thought would be really cool to do. So they have a little introduction video and a PowerPoint even to go along with it. I don't use any of these because I like to do my own thing, but this is what I mostly did is then I could download the chapters. I don't love that it's in a Word doc. I would prefer it to be in a PDF, but I'm not sure what their justification was for doing that. But anyway, so I can just download that and my students can just come here, download that. And so I can just send them to this link, say, read chapter 5, read chapter whatever, and we just go from there. So that was kind of a cool example, I thought. And this is like, oh, this is what I want to strive for eventually, is that. And it also gave me a textbook to use in my one of my other classes. So my students didn't have to purchase that textbook. So now let's go back to the one that I intended to find the OER for. So what I did at this point was, okay, I know I'm not finding exactly what I need. So let's create an outline of what I would love this textbook to look like. Specifically, it would align with my class and the topics we talk about. We're not jumping all over the place and that sort of thing. And so I laid out that outline and then I filled in with resources I currently had on the different topics. So that included journal articles. It included essays that I had written. I actually have taken, and I'm going to continue doing this, many essays that I wrote in my doctoral program just for assignments. And I'm like, these are actually really good. I have tons of sources. You know, I dove deep into these and I'd love to use them. And so this is a great way to do that. Other places that have free publications, there's a couple, like Global Sport Matters is an example. It's an online resource that's available that faculty members contribute to, and it's free. And there's a couple other things like that. So I filled in all the spaces I could with that. And then I started going back to the OERs to think, oh, is there something else I could do? Can I find OERs to fill in some of those other things? So if I come back to this is the outline that I made, and you'll notice I made comments all over here as I began finding things. And I shared this with Laura and Ryan as well, and they kind of helped me, gave me some other ideas and things like that. So for example, my introduction to the class is obviously what's kinesiology and careers. And I did actually find one OER about this, and it was okay. and not my favorite, but it was something. At least I was like, oh, okay, this author just talks about different careers, so that could fit in right there. And then when it comes to philosophy, it doesn't really change. I just apply it to a sport, physical activity setting. So I'm still kind of looking for that, but that was one of the other tangents I went down is, can I find an OER just about philosophy that my students could use in this section? Anyway, so it just went down from there. And all of my little notes off to the side, I could probably use this one. This one, I can utilize the OER that I found for my other class for this section of the class. I'm going to have to write something for this one, et cetera, et cetera. So what came of that was my final list of readings for my class that I'm currently using right now this semester. So again, I had the same kind of outline, and then and we meet twice a week, so I have readings for each day of the week. So as you notice here, a lot of these are links to the library, or they're free online sources, or, use things like the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So you can go and look up what jobs are available. We don't really need an OER to tell us that necessarily. We can just go in real time and see what's going on in that world. Couple other videos that I've found, things like that. But again, most importantly, I've made sure to permalink them correctly in this space. I also use resources that I already have available. So this is my dissertation. Don't worry, I didn't make them read my whole dissertation because that would be really boring. But I just had, pages 11 through 13. This is what I want you to know about this topic. And I did a really good job on this. I mean, it's a dissertation, right? You have to dive so deeply in. So I want them to just read that section of it. Yeah, so that's kind of what I did there. And this is what I'm currently using for my class. This is another one, an example of, as I mentioned, like an essay that I wrote in my doctoral program, and then I linked them to it. And I'll just continue updating it as I need. It's in a Google Doc, so I can just keep doing that and adding to it. So eventually what I'd like to do is take this and put it into the form of that other text like this. The one that I found, the OER that was for free. So that's my ultimate goal. So I'm not done, if you will, and I don't know if we're ever done. And of course, if I find better resources or anything like that, I want to continue adding and updating. And there's a few of these, like the other thing that's important is I get some feedback from the students. I can, I'll ask them questions about their reading, and they're like, we didn't understand it. I'm like, okay, too much. So let's go back. I'll find something else. Or maybe I need to write something that's a little bit more understandable for a 200 level class and things like that. So that's kind of my goal moving forward at this point. But right now I just have a link to this Google Doc on my Moodle website. And then I have a link to ITRC for, like, if you're having any technical difficulties, go here first. And yeah, and that's how I've kind of laid out the class at this point. And then I think that was, yeah. So that's kind of the end of what I'm doing here. There was one other thing I thought about saying, but now I can't remember. So maybe perhaps we could go to questions, and then I'll remember what it was I was going to say.
Well, Elaine, thank you so much for presenting. I found this very interesting, and I certainly want to thank you for your work. And I think that it's really cool that you've incorporated those links to the library resources. I think that's good practice. I'm a librarian, so I'm biased a little bit in that regard, but it does help us as librarians to direct students into the library resources, and it helps us get statistics for those resources that justify continued purchase of those tools for faculty and students altogether. So, I'd like to give everyone a chance to ask questions. I think I might have some questions, but I'd like to open the floor to anyone who has questions to unmute themselves and ask questions at this time. And we can go as long as anyone people want to ask questions. So, what questions do you have for Elaine?
I'll begin. I'll raise my hand. Congratulations, Elaine. This is fantastic. I love seeing where you've developed it so far. You've done a lot of work, and I love, by the way, you can tell you're in education because the pedagogy and the curriculum layout is amazing. So anyway, the instructional design is fantastic. I love how it's laid out for the semester. And you reference how you want to see it in that OER that you've picked out for the other course. Yes, that one. Do you envision the for the course that you're designing, your press books looking like this? Is that how you envision the final product?
Yeah, I think so. I met with Ryan a little while ago again, and he gave me some more tips on the press books, and it sounds like that's the area he recommends publishing in. It seems like it might be the easiest, and you might know Laura, but yeah, I loved how this was laid out in this way, or it could even just be, maybe it's not chapters necessarily, but it's readings for certain topics. That might be a little bit different, kind of how I already have it structured. Let's see, like this one, or like introduction, section 1, because that's just how I structure the course. Is like in this first section, a couple weeks, we're going to talk about these things, and then my students write about it. And then the next section, we talk about these things, and then they write about it, and that sort of thing. So it might be a little bit more like that, more topics and chapters, but I just really like this layout because it's so easy to follow, it's easy to access, easy for the students, pretty clear.
Are you on that line? You know, there's OER events happening across the nation, but there is an expert in press books at North Idaho College.
Okay.
And he is doing, his name is Jeff Carr, and he is doing 3 events this week on press books. And today he is doing at noon press books introduction, and let's see, I think he's doing advanced press books at 2:30 on Thursday, and then images press books at 10 o'clock on Friday. And I'd be happy to share my calendar events with you that have the Zoom links. Kaywin, you're nodding your head too.
Fantastic.
Would you like me to, because those are open to anyone in Idaho or anyone anywhere. Would you like me to add you to those events?
Absolutely.
And Ajit too? Okay. Okay, I'll just add you to those events. All right.
Thank you. That's very helpful, because I understand press books, but I'm also like, I don't know if I'll fully get it till I jump in. So
Yes,
to have
yes.
a little more insight.
I'm the administrator, one of the administrators for Pressbooks now too, so I'm learning how it works. So let's do that. All right.
So one of my questions I posed in the Q&A was, do we have a user group on campus for Pressbooks? But Lori, you just told us that we can come directly to you, right?
Yes, we'll learn together. That's all I can say. Yes.
Kaywin, I'm also a Pressbooks admin. I think
Awesome.
Ryan Randall is a little, he's got a little more experience than Laura and myself, but we want to learn together with you as well. So so we'd be happy to join you.
Ryan has been working with me on a couple of things, and I have another appointment with him this afternoon. But yes, he is like, I'm not sure we can do it that way, but we'll try something. So he's been testing a few things with me as well. Not specifically in Pressbooks yet, but is Pressbooks going to be what I need? Will it serve my need?
Okay, cool. We have a question in the chat from Ajit. I can read that, Elaine, and it says, how do you keep track of articles that might no longer be accessible through the library, possibly due to ISU no longer subscribing to the journal or something else. So if you'd like to answer that, and we as librarians can help you with filling in any gaps if you want. So
I check through every semester. I always go through the links as I'm setting up my course schedule. Because so in my Moodle course, I'll have like week 1 and I put readings and then I put a link to the readings as well. So they could go to the entire Google Doc that I made, but I also put a link in there. So every semester as I'm putting them in, I just click on the link, make sure it's still there. If it's not, then I find something else that works.
oh, okay, so your answer is to find a different article sometimes then.
That's, yeah, usually, unless, if it's something, I haven't had an issue where it's been something in the library. Usually it's something like a website or something that I've used, and then I'll find something else. So, yeah, I guess that's what I normally do. So is there a way maybe then, Spencer and Laura, to access, obviously interlibrary loan, you could do that?
Yeah, I posted this in the chat, but I elaborate a little bit. We can request articles through interlibrary loan, and typically those are sent as a PDF. And once you have the copy, you can keep it forever. But I think with the transition to Canvas, the ITRC has been telling me that they don't want professors to upload the PDFs to Canvas because I don't know if it's not possible or it just takes up too much memory, too much space in the system, and we don't have that kind of space in Canvas, I guess, like we do in Moodle. And so
True.
a workaround for that is to work with our course reserves department in the library, and the PDF can be uploaded to the library catalog. And then you could link to the library catalog, and the student would need to log into the catalog through their 9-digit ISU ID number and last name, find the professor's name or the course name, and then they can download the article. It does take a little bit more clicking, but that is a solution. So, what other, who else has questions? You're welcome, Ajit. Thanks for asking the question. Those are good questions.
Elaine, I look forward to getting a copy of that document that you're willing to share, or whatever part of it you're willing to share.
Yeah, you bet. Anyone in particular?
Specifically, some of the resources that Ryan shared with you,
Okay, yeah, you bet.
but anything that you're willing to share in your process, I would love to see. I'm following behind you, so it'd be a roadmap.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to help.
Great. Well, Elaine, thank you so much for presenting today. It was so nice to learn about your experiences, and I thought it was really wonderful that you incorporated some of your graduate, your dissertation, links to your dissertation, links to your essays and things. I think that's fantastic. And as I'm listening to you and hearing the work that you've done, I'm just like, this sounds like really good scholarship. I mean, this is what we do in academia. We do research, we find answers, we help students to learn, and it helps us to learn in the process. And keeping up to date really enhances our own abilities as professors too. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. I just remembered one question that I had that I'd be interested in hearing what you say, but I was wondering if you've thought about publishing about your OER experience. Is that something that possibly in your field of education / sports science, I wonder if you could publish and let others know this work that you've done. And I can imagine a lot of others in your field would appreciate the work you've done and would really benefit from all this work that you've put forward in this class. So
Well, it's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that, but it could help us all create better resources that we can glean from.
yeah.
That's a
Especially
really
my
good
little
idea.
niche area of the world.
Yeah, maybe you could start by giving a presentation at a conference. You've already got your dry run through today, right? So
Yeah.
so um, okay. Well, if there are no other questions, let me know. Thank you all for joining, and I hope to see many of the rest of you in our other presentations. And we'll say goodbye. And thanks again, Elaine, for presenting. And I hope everyone has a good day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.